Hi there, Stephanie of Stephanie Stitches here. Welcome to my channel where together we sew. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back, and if you're brand new and here for the sew along, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to ring the bell for notifications of new videos. And when I go live every Saturday at 5 o'clock, and all the new videos for the sew along will be live every Sunday at 8 a.m. So today, as I've mentioned, the sew along, I'm starting my new sew along, the American Pride quilt, and as you can see from the blocks behind me, we're going to make these really easy, simple hourglass blocks. What makes them a little tricky is because they are very big, but I will walk you through how to do them step by step. So go ahead and grab your big squares of the blue floral and your big squares of your white background. If you're using your own fabrics, it's whatever those A fabrics, the 17.5-inch squares, and your background 17.5-inch squares. And let's get started. Also, don't forget to grab a friction pen or a marking tool of your choice. You'll need a rotary cutter and a ruler. And if you've got a big square, I've got this big 16.5-inch square, because we're going to trim these down to 16.5 eventually. If you've got one this big, great. If you don't, but you've got like an 18.5-inch or 24-inch by 6-inch or 8-inch, that'll work too. Or if you need to use two rulers to get to that amount, that's fine as well. But any of those will work. So go grab your things and come on along and sew with me. Okay, so I forgot to mention before that if you're brand new to my channel and you haven't sewn along with me before, these patterns are on my website, and there is a link to that in the description box below the video. It's stephanie-stitches.com, and you'll see the tab that says sew along, but if you take the link in the description box, it'll take you right to the page where the patterns, fabric instruction, or fabric requirements and cutting instructions are located. So here I've got my big fabric A, which is the blue floral, and my background squares, and you'll want to lay them right sides together, just like that. And just to save a little time, I already drew a line, but you're going to want to take your friction pen or whatever your favorite marking tool is and draw a line from corner to corner just on one end. Okay? And after we do that, I don't typically pin when I do these kind of blocks, but I am going to pin because this square is so large that there's a good chance this thing's going to shift. So I'm going to pin it just in several places just to keep it in place while we're sewing it, because it's pretty big and cumbersome to hold. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just so we don't get it doesn't shift and it comes out correctly. I'm not even going to pin it on both sides because we're going to be sewing it down the one side, and once the one side is stable, you don't really need to have the other side pinned. So just going to pin that side. Now we're going to sew a 1/4 inch to the right and a 1/4 inch to the left of this line we just drew. Now if you have one of those rulers where you can draw the two lines, if you prefer to sew on lines, go ahead and do that. For anyone worried that I know there's a lot of controversy as to whether friction pens actually come out or not, this is going to be cut away. So if you if you don't have a friction pen and you have a mechanical pencil or even a regular pen, you'd be fine marking this with, because we're going to cut this away. This is not going to be in your quilt, so we're going to cut on that line. So start by sewing a 1/4 inch to the right and a 1/4 inch to the left of this line. I guess it doesn't matter which way I do it. I'm not going to cut the thread, I'm just going to turn this around and go to the other side. I'm going to pull those pins out so I don't run them over. Okay, press those pins out. Alright, so you should have a square that looks something like that. It's hard to see the thread, but where you've sewn on either side of the line. So now we're going to cut this apart right on that center line. You'll need a big long ruler if you've got it. If you don't, you can use a small ruler and you'll just have to move it as we go. And that's not a problem. Use what you've got. Missed that little corner. There we go. Okay, so now you will have two triangles, and we are going to open these up, and we are going to press towards the dark side. So press towards the blue on both of these. So because these are so big, I don't have my little iron over here. This would never fit on my little ironing board. It'd be kind of cumbersome. So I'm going to go over to my ironing station and iron these, and I will be right back. Okay, so as you can see, I've got both of these pressed, and they're both pressed towards the dark side. And two reasons for that. Number one, I don't want any of the blue to show through the white, but also so we can nest them, because we're going to put this blue on this white and this white on this blue. So we're going to put these blocks right sides together, blue to white and white to blue. So you want to nest those up as good as possible. I am going to take my time here, scooch these together and make sure those seams really match up. And after I'm sure that they do, I'm going to pin. So I'm going to use several pins in this step, which I know is unusual for me. I'm not typically a pinner, but I want these to stay together really nicely. So I'm feeling all the way down to make sure that those seams are right up against each other and haven't scooched apart. This is a very big block, so it's a little more difficult than if we're doing a smaller hourglass. And I can kind of see, if you hold it up to the light, I can see where it's not together in certain spots. So I'm going to just make sure those are together. You can kind of just walk the fabric over with your fingers. Keep on pinning all the way. Okay, so after you've got it all pinned, we're going to do what we did before, and draw a line from corner to corner. So let me get my friction pen here and my big ruler. Oh, I think my pen died. Plus I've got a pin right in the way, so I'm going to take that guy out for a minute. Let's see. So my pen died and I don't have another friction pen over here, so I'm just going to use a regular pen because, like I said, it's not really going to much matter because we are just going to cut this apart, so it's not even going to be in my block. Okay, there we go. Alright, move that guy. And same thing that we did before, we're going to sew to the left and to the right of that line. I'm going to stick another pin in here because I had to pull it out to make the line, just to keep those nested really well. And then sew down this. Down the center here. Oops. Turn it around. You can cut your fabric if you like, or you can just leave it and flip it around. That's all sewn, so I'm going to pull these pins out, and after I pull the pins out, we're going to cut down that line that we drew again. And now we need 4 of these hourglass blocks all together, so this is making 2 and I already made 2, so that's 4. So you'll do 2 sets of these because you get 2 per block. Okay, if I did that right, we should have 2 quarter square triangles or hourglass blocks. Yep, there we go. There's 1. There's 2. Now, I'm going to go iron these, and after I iron them, I'll come back and I will show you how I trim them, and then we'll be done. This week was the easy week, very beginner friendly, this quilt. Next week's will be a little harder. But as you can see, it's going to go together fairly quickly, which I wanted to have a quilt that went together fairly quickly so we could get it done in time for all the summer red, white, and blue holidays. So I'm going to go iron these and then, or press these, and then I'll be right back and I'll show you how I trim them. Okay, as you can see, my block is all pressed, and now all I have to do is trim it. Let's see if I can get more of that in the camera, not too much without going off my table. So hopefully you guys have a cutting surface to do this on. This is my sewing table, so it's a little trickier because it's such a big block. This is my, we're trimming these down to 16.5. This is my 16.5 inch square. So on the Creative Grids rulers, it's gonna be kind of hard to see, but there is a center right there where these white lines cross. And so I'm going to put this center dot right on the center here of my hourglass or half square triangle block, or quarter square triangle block I should say. So I'm going to put that right on the center, and I'm going to use these black diagonal lines as the guide and put those on the diagonal. And then I'm going to trim around all four sides after I've got this where I want it. Now take your time. There's not extra fabric if you got the kit from me, so try not to make a mistake here. I usually always try to include some extra fabric, but there's not going to be pieces this large left over, so. Okay. Alright, that should do it. There's not a whole lot of waste, just little trimmings. So we're trimming these down to 16.5. And your block should end up looking like this. Now from each pair of white and blue, like I said before, you should get 2 blocks. And so you should have 2 blues and 2 whites, which will yield 4 blocks. You need 4 of these all together. And that's it. Okay, so that was week 1 of the Pride Sew Along. Super easy. The only thing that makes it difficult is that they're a little bit larger size blocks. But next week will be a little bit more difficult, more of a traditional block, and then the 3rd week will be the finishing. So it's going to be quick and easy. Thank you so much for joining me today. This was a lot of fun. You'll have a whole week to finish this if you haven't finished cutting, because I know there's a few of you out there that told me yesterday that you weren't done cutting. You'll have the week to do it because these go together in no time. So thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget, if you're new here and you want to sew along, the patterns are on my website. That link will always be in the description box below. The patterns only stay up through the sew along, so make sure you grab them, because I've had a few people ask me about the patterns from the last sew along. They're already gone, so make sure you grab these along the way, even if you can't sew with us at the time, if you'd like to make this. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. Enjoy the beautiful weather with your family. I know I'm going to, and this was great. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.